Yo, what is going on, guys? Crypto Vibes here, also known as Crypto, bringing you guys another video. And it's been a minute since I've said that because this is Crash Season 11. I want to say the last time I had a Crash-related video on the channel, it was Season 2. So yeah, we're back after just a little bit of a hiatus and everything, but hopefully without, unless life shit pops up, then I should be able to get all these videos out for you guys and record the entire season, which is the goal. But anyways, yeah, um, like I said, it's been a little bit. One thing I want to point out about this season that I've never done on my channel before is, aside from this game right here, which, it was my fault. I definitely just completely forgot to do it. I want to go ahead and try to record all these games live com. And you're going to see here, this is a post-commentary game, and hopefully the only one I do all season. One big difference I would say between the post-com and live com is, for one, I've never done live. I've done live com like twice, I want to say, on the channel, but those were like unrelated leagues and ones maybe I didn't care about or go into depth as much about. But with this one, I'm going to try to go live com, obviously, like I said, with. Um, and yeah, I think it'll be cool. Post commentary is something I've done for a while, and I think I can probably give you a little bit better in-depth analysis of the games that way. But I think live com might be a little bit more entertaining, as you'll just see me, maybe random chance will come out, like I don't know, maybe land if I go for something inaccurate, or crit if I really need to pull myself back into a game that I'm just playing awfully in, or something like that, something completely valid. But anyways, with all that being said, yeah, that is the goal this season, and yeah, we'll get into it. We are playing a 9-week season here, and our first opponent we are going up against is a returning coach in Dawnmidst, and I'm very excited to play Dawn. We've had some very close games in the past. I want to say I'm like 0-2 against Dawn or something. I have no idea, to be completely honest. We played a couple times or something. Anyways, I'll go ahead and go over Don's team a little bit better this way in the doc here. I can go ahead and tell you guys my entire team. But if you want to see my entire team, I will say check out the draft analysis video for this. I don't know if that'll come out first or this week 1 video. I know that sounds really stupid, but if my draft analysis video isn't out, check on Bash's channel. That you can definitely see we did a dual draft analysis together, so we'll have both of our teams on there. Anyways, Don's team here is Jelly Doom, consisting of the Terra Sneasler, Hisuian Samurott, Landorus Incarnate, Tropicos, Metagross, Mega Charizard X, Tangrowth, Bellibolt, Terra All Bellibolt, Rabombi, and then Swalot. So getting into this, the biggest threats, in my opinion, were the Terra Flying Sneasler and the Tropicos. Tropicos, honestly, is one of the bigger threats, in my opinion, just because I haven't played it yet, and I know it can be really obnoxious from what I've seen from it. It just has a lot of different coverage, and it's extremely bulky on both sides, really, and it has that stupid ability you got to worry about at the beginning. So yeah, that's that from Don's team. Obviously, huge threats from like Landorus and Mega Charizard X too I got to worry about, and Hisuian Samurott's very annoying with Ceaseless Edge and all that. But realistically, those are the two biggest things I had to worry about going into the matchup. And as you can see, the Terraflying Sneasler and the Tropicos are both here. I can go over my team real quick and then kind of jump into the replay here itself. We have a physically defensive Mandibuzz with Foul Play, a Toxic, Roost, and Defog, I want to say. It's been a little bit over a week since I played this, but don't quote me on every set exactly. But anyways, Mandibuzz just had a really strong matchup in general, I would say, against Don's team overall here. You can see physically offensive mons like Sneasler, Samurott. Landorus's physical coverage, like Rock Slide, is like one of the bigger things Mandibuzz had to worry about. Outside of, there's still special moves like Sludge Wave and stuff, which could still be a big problematic. Also, it checks things like Metagross. Foul Play is really good for Charizard. Overcoat for Tangrowth. So as you can see, Mandibuzz was just really strong overall. So it can kind of just stay in and click buttons against the entire team, which is really nice, and I really like that. We have Mega Diancie here, which is just an fully offensive 3-attack Stealth Rock set, which I believe is a Moonblast, Diamond Storm, and Earth Power. Yeah, Earth Power for the Metagross here. In hindsight, maybe Substitute could have been really good on there somewhere, so I could have tried to maybe not play so many mind games with the Metagross, which is something to keep in mind. Then we had a pretty bulky, physically defensive Raging Bolt. Not Raging. Oh my god, I get the name wrong on this thing every time. It's freaking Gouging Fire, yeah. So yeah, that guy. Pretty physically defensive guy, and it has Dragon Dance, Morning Sun, Flare Blitz, and Dragon Claw. Really solid mon that can set up on Tropicos. It can set up on Hisuian Samurott, borrowing a few moves, and then just causes a lot of problems to this team in general. So it's one of my best win cons this game for sure, I would say. And also the physical boost it gets from the Booster Energy, which I am carrying as my item, gives me a really good help against a late game +2 Sneasler if I don't already proc my Raging Gouging Fire. Fucking shit. I'll get that name right eventually. But then yeah, we have our Assault Vest Blastoise here, which is a little bit extra insurance to help with Mana Buzz against the Landorus for sure, and the top Terapagos, because I don't really have great answers to Terapagos on my team overall. So we have the Assault Vest Blastoise here with Flip Turn, Rapid Spin, Ice Beam, and Dragon Tail. I want to say Dragon Tail is just a cool option to phase things around. Obviously, like Sneasler, if that thing gets out of control, it's nice to throw that out. Nothing else in particular comes to mind what Dragon Tail is for. Because it can't Rabombi. Rabombi's kind of something. I didn't think Rabombi would be set up this game though, because it's going against a Mega Diancie and a Nidoking, so it kind of needs a lot of different coverage to hit. Well, mainly just Psychic, I guess. But I had something else on my team. I don't remember, but I didn't think setup and Rabombi looked that great. And then we have last 2 months here. We have our Nidoking here, which is actually a Endure Custap berry set, which is pretty nice here. And its moves are Ice Beam, Earth Power, Sub, and Endure. Substitute was kind of just there to give me some nice little just kind of there to, if Don wants to make some aggressive predictions, try to get Landorus in on an Earth Power or something like that, or I don't know, like just really anything to be annoying, like or predict Ice Beam and go Samurai or something. We have Substitute there to kind of, lay over the predictions. Also, just get me closer to my Custap Berry without potentially having to reveal Endure, which is extremely obvious at that point what item I'm running if I get knocked into my 1% Endure range. But also, it's really cool if it's Sneasler set up and gets my, I don't really have much else defensively to take on Sneasler. I have that as a safety blanket in the back, because I would assume Sneasler is going to try to if it hasn't already, Fly in front of Nidoking, so I still have the Ice Beam to hit that really hard. I still need a little bit chip on it to guarantee the kill for Ice Beam if I'm able to get in range of my Custap beforehand, but that's something I think I can do throughout the game, because I do have a Rocky Helmet Mana Buzz, which is good for chip on the Sneasler. So that's that. And then last but not least, we have our Scarf Scyther, which is nice for a little bit of speed control, because as you can see, my entire team gets outsped by Sneasler at the moment, and that's one of the mons I mentioned is a humongous threat. So we definitely like that there. It's also capable of outpacing a Scarfed Landorus Incarnate, which is something that could be used to deal with Mega Diancie and a +1 Gouging Fire a bit better. See, I got it right that time. And then just in general, it was a really good lead for me this game, because two of the mons I expected Dawn to potentially bring as leads were the Hisuian Samurai with like a Ceaseless Edge, spamming all that bullshit, or the Rabombi, which, because webs were pretty good against my team in general, even though I do have decent removal with a Defog and Mana Buzz and Rapid Spin Blastoise, which I brought both this game just to have extra insurance in case Dawn brought the Sticky Webs. But yeah, Scarf Sneasler, I think it has or not Sneasler, but Scarf Scyther has the U-Turn knockoff for Metagross. Then we're Dual Wing Beat, and what is my last move? I can't remember what my last move is, but maybe I'll remember as we get into the game. But anyways, like I said, I liked Scyther overall as a lead this game. Just going into it, but I guess I can kind of go over what I thought Dawn was going to bring real quick. I thought overall, like, Life Orb Landorus was just really strong on my team, because yeah, like I said, my Mana Buzz can take Rock Slides from Landorus, but it struggles to take special moves like Focus Blast and Sludge Wave, just because I'm physically invested. But at the same time, it can still take Earth Powers from Landorus, which is nice, and it can still take a hit from Landorus if nonetheless. It's very good to take on, like I said, in a lot of Dawn's team. Metagross here is definitely going to be Shook Berry this game. I think that's pretty much a given, given that I have a Mega Diancie and look at the rest of the team. West is extremely spammable, so yeah, that's got to be Shook Berry, I would assume, and then Bullet Punch is obviously a safe guess. Sneasler, I really thought an SD on Burden set could become this game, but also either choice variant could be really good too, so that's something to keep in mind. Terapagos in general, I knew was just going to be here because it's Dawn's best pivot into Nidoking with being, like a safe option. So it could be like Assault Vest or just a Spadef option in general, because its freaking entourage of coverage is just annoying to deal with. And then we have the Hisuian Samurai here, which I probably thought would be Sash or Scarf this game, to be honest. I thought Scarf was decent spammable, and then Sash would just be a cool option in general. And then Tangrowth, really, it could be physically defensive or Spadef, depending on how Dawn wants to go about my team. Spadef could be, or like an AV set could be decent to help with Mega Diancie a little bit more, to have like a pivot. But also physically defensive makes sense too, to help with a Scyther a bit more, and then well, not really Scyther, but if it's like Helmet, I guess it could be annoying for Scyther, and then certain Gouging Fire, live certain Gouging Fire +1 hits and whatnot, and maybe throw off a Toxic or anything like that. But yeah, getting into the game, I thought Scyther was a really good lead for me here. And then he's going to go ahead and lead the Metagross, which is probably one of the leads I did not want to deal with, just because overall I think it gives pretty free rocks. And for my position, I think I just have to U-turn out. I do have knockoff, which wouldn't have been a bad turn one play, but if Dawn goes for the knockoff immediately too, it's not puts me in a pretty annoying spot because I would lose my Scarf on Scyther, and that, like I said, that is a really good offensive check to Sneasler at this point, potentially Scarf Lando, Scarf Samurott, so it's really nice, and I didn't want to risk that here, so I just U-turn out, and I go hard into Mandibuzz. But Dawn makes a really aggressive play right here and goes for Psychic Fangs, which I guess trying to get big damage off on Scyther, which is fair. But he's going to make the pivot out here into Tangrowth, which is interesting as I go for the foul play. Really, anything else did not want to take a foul play there because it does big damage to everything not named Terapagos, but if Terapagos comes in, it does lose its Terra Shield. So that was something that Don probably made a pretty good read there going into Tangrowth. And you're going to see it is Rocky Helmet, so this is most likely a Fizz-Def Tangrowth. And I'm going to go a Nidoking here, which might seem like an aggressive play, but in hindsight, I really want to keep my Mandibuzz not toxic this game, and I thought Tangrowth definitely could carry toxic this game. So I go hard Nidoking here, but Don makes a really aggressive play and goes for Leaf Storm, I guess assuming that I'm like not going to let my Mandibuzz get toxic. So really solid play. They're going to go into the Tropicos, and you're going to see how stupidly bulky this thing is with its ability, obviously, but it takes 6% from Ice Beam. This is a Sheer Force Nidoking, not Life Orb, but still. That confirms that's Assault Vest Tropicos at this point. Master Oogway, as you can see here. Very annoying. So I'm going to go into Blastoise here because I need to get some more chip on this thing and weaken it down for Diancie. It's going to flip turn, or it's going to immediately Terra Starstorm and get a crit, which is big damage on Blastoise. Kind of annoying just because, I don't expect Blastoise to be around a ton this game, or like in the long term, but that crit is going to, make its lifespan a bit more useless here. And I'm going to take another Starstorm, be down to 33 already. Go ahead and flip turn out. Looks like I'm barely doing anything this thing, and that's because I'm not. I bring out Mandibuzz because I'm going to try to get Toxic off, but this time Tangrowth comes back in. I land the Toxic here. And I'm still under the assumption this thing's definitely going to have Toxic. So I could have made the aggressive play back in a Nidoking, but having Nidoking there as the Endure option is it's way too aggressive to bring it back in. And, even if I do get Nidoking in, they still have a really healthy Tropico. So I don't think it's worth the aggressive play to go into it. So I'm going to make kind of a middle ground play that doesn't allow my Mandibuzz to get Toxic. So I'm going to go Scyther. And Don does go for the Toxic this time, potentially predicting me to stay in with Mandibuzz there this time. But I get Scyther, and just because I think, even though Scarf Scyther is really good for the end game, I don't think a Toxic is going to cause it too many problems, as long as I can keep it out of range of like Bullet Punch Metagross and not let it get chipped down too much. But as I say that, I'm going to go ahead and U-turn on this thing's Rocky Helmet anyways, just because I want to keep Tangrowth pretty low, help Gouging Fire out later on, help it weaken it down for I guess Gouging Fire was the main one, yeah. We're going to bring Nidoking in there off of the U-turn, and they go for Sludge Bomb. Aggressive play by me, but I figured there was no way they go for the Leaf Storm on that turn, or they're just going to switch out. So I get Nidoking in there, and I'm going to essentially do the same thing as I was talking about earlier. I get the Earth Power off into the Tropicos, weaken it down even more. Here I'm going to have to sack off Blastoise, which kind of unfortunate that I have to at this point. Even without the crit, though, I guess I died to 4 overall Terra Starstorms. So yeah, I don't think the crit ended up mattering too much. Maybe I would have played it differently. I don't think so. I'm not really going to blame. Well, yeah, I guess they don't get the Rabbit Spin off here. They would have had the Starstorm again. So they get the Speed Boost off of that, which, as you're going to see, okay, so I can explain this play. I go into Gouging Fire here. I don't know if the Speed Boost, the Speed Boost did kind of matter in a sense that I couldn't bring out, actually, no, yeah, I don't think the Speed Boost or the Spin really ends up mattering all that much. Because as you're going to see here, I'm going to bring in my Gouging Fire, which is a pretty aggressive play right here, because Gouging Fire could be very, very good for the late game, or like I explained, it could be helpful for dealing for us with a Sneasler late game. But I'm just looking at my team at this point. Nothing is going to safely take this out at this point. I think my only other option was my Scyther. I could come out and click CC on this thing to kill it, but I think there's very easy pivots for like Tangrowth coming back in, or like CC is pretty obvious, so maybe Landorus pivots in. I don't know about that one, but I just figured it was probably time to bring this in because, for one, I can take 2 Terra Starstorms with ease on this thing, and this thing doesn't have access to Toxic or anything like that, or Taunt, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to bring this in, get the defense boost, as you can see, and I'm going to try to set up a Dragon Dance because I'm looking at Don's team, and one of the big things I made a prep mistake error on was not knowing that Hisuian Samurott has access to Toxic, and I'm looking at Don's team right now, and I'm like, how the heck do they get out of this situation? So I'm going to set up a Dragon Dance. They go for the Terra Starstorm right here and crit me, which is really unfortunate. It does a ton of damage right there, obviously. I would have taken 2, as you can see. So it puts me in a really annoying spot because I don't have a ton of speed on my Gouging Fire here. So I'm thinking in my head, wow, if they get that Rapid Spin off and they outspeed me on this following turn and kill me here, that's going to be really bad. So I get the Dragon Dance off, like I said. And here they actually make the play. If I was faster, my play here is the either way Morning Sun. So I'm going to Morning Sun, but they do switch out, so we don't have to luckily risk that. They go into Samurott, and this is where things are just. This is where I guess I just messed up in general because I just was under the assumption this thing didn't have access to Toxic. We go for the Dragon Claw there. As you can see, this is all very fat Samurott, and they go for the Toxic. So I'm like, shit. Didn't realize that thing could run that, but here we are. We're in that deck, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. But like, I swear I looked at the moveset before that and saw I didn't get it. But either way, definitely a good bring by Dawn to bring the fat Serena Samurai with Toxic. As I set up another Dragon Dance there just so I can get the 2-8 KO with the Dragon Claw on the following turn. They get the Ceaseless Edge off with it gets another spike up on the or gets a spike up on the field. But I can still do some massive damage with my Gouging Fire here, so it's not all's lost. We get the Dragon Claw kill off on the Hammer out right there, which is also. Which is also just nice because that's something that could speed tie potentially with the Nidoking. But I'm pretty sure after I Dragon Clawed it, I'm pretty much sure I confirmed that this thing was just Fizz Def. So getting rid of that thing wasn't like the biggest deal in the world, but obviously need to start killing mons at some point. And here they bring out Tangrowth, and it's annoying at this point because I take 25% from Toxic the following turn, and I have to take Helmet from this thing and Flare Blitz Recoil to kill it because Dragon Claw definitely does not kill this thing at this point. So in my head here, I was thinking, okay, they revealed Leaf Storm, Toxic, and Sludge Bomb so far. If I take a Leaf Storm or a Sludge Bomb as I go for the Morning Sun, there's a chance I can kill this thing with a Flare Blitz and the Toxic Recoil and the Helmet Recoil if I, Morning Sun here as the Sludge Bomb or Leaf Storm, like I said. Didn't reveal their last move. I didn't really know if it could be Earthquake. I didn't keep in mind I do have a really boom on my team at this point. That's something I didn't really mention in the video already, but Earthquake's still a possibility they could have here. So I debated Terraing on this turn because I'm Terra Fairy. I debated Terraing here so I could have maybe taken an Earthquake a bit better if they went for it, but also if they just went for the Sludge Bomb or Leaf Storm, as that could have been their best options if their last move was like Stun Spore or something. So I just decided overall not to Terra here, and it doesn't hurt me to Morning Sun here because either way, if it does end up having an Earthquake, I would still end up going to get a Flare Blitz off against this thing no matter what, if that makes any sense. So they go for the Earthquake here, and unfortunately that is going to do enough to the point where the following turn I'm going to have to go ahead and just attack this thing and double down. They do sack the Tangrowth, which is in turn good for Mana Buzz, so I don't have to get Toxic at this point, and helps out Scyther because I don't have to take Helmet. But we'd have a double down there, which is a bit scary because Gouging Fire was good towards the late game here. And yeah, that's just something to note. Now this next turn is really big and probably where I messed up a little bit. I stay in with Mana Buzz here, which is obviously fine. They go Sneasler. I figured Mana Buzz matched up good against everything at this point, because at this point I could take 2 Terra Starstorms from the Tropicos, so I could get Toxic off on that thing and potentially Roost Stall it a little bit, because I would assume that's its strongest move against me, being that Ice Beam actually does a little bit less. But the Sneasler goes for U-turn here, and that's really good because like I mentioned earlier, this thing takes Rocky Helmet Chip, which I believe in turn puts it in range of Ice Beam from Nidoking if they decide to Terra later. So that could give my Endure cussed out Nidoking a good option against the Sneasler here. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and I believe I click Foul Play here. Yeah, we Foul Play in Landorus. And something I didn't take into account, which I definitely wasn't a misplay on my part, was I didn't calc this U-turn damage right there from Sneasler. A big part of me was really just assuming that was Scarf Sneasler, but it did 19% to a fully Fizz Def Mana Buzz. That's a pretty strong attack, which if I would have calced that would have told me that this is Banded Sneasler. And that's going to alter, in my head during the game, I'm thinking that's Scarf Sneasler, but I should have known that was Banded Sneasler. And it's going to affect the way I play a little bit here, as you're going to see. Bring in Landorus, though, and they go for the Taunt, because at this position, I was like, if they have Sludge Wave or Focus Blast, are those 2 strongest moves I believe that this thing can hit me with. I do live both of them, so I can at least scout right here and go for the Roost. But they have Taunt, which is actually pretty annoying, because to keep my Mana Buzz fairly low for the Sneasler and Metagross at this point, which is a little bit more problematic. And right here, I put myself in a tough spot, because I can stay in with Mana Buzz. I'll just go ahead and skip it in there. I can stay with Mana Buzz and attack this thing with Foul Play and put it lower in range of, like, I guess U-turn from Scyther, which could be good. But I'm realizing at this point, or I'm thinking in my head at this point, Mana Buzz is so important. I can maybe get a Roost off against Metagross and proceed to check what I think in my head is Scarf Sneasler a bit better with Mana Buzz. Because yes, I still have the Endure Nidoking, which can be safety blanket against the Sneasler, but I'm thinking in my head now, if that's Scarf Sneasler, one of my more useless mons is the Scyther at this point. Mega Diancie still has access to Break, Nidoking still has the Cuss Stop in the back, and then Mana Buzz has the defensive capability to take on a lot of the mons here. So I'm thinking in my head, at this point, they get the Taunt off, I'm like, well, I gotta keep Mana Buzz around, try to check the Metagross and Sneasler. So I'm gonna switch out to Scyther here, which I do regret this. Probably the biggest misplay on my part this game, letting Scyther go down because Scyther does have a potential win con here this game, and as you can see, this Landorus is, I want to say it's in range of dual wing beat at this point. If not, it's extremely close. Tropico's is at 53%. That's not quite in range, but very, very close. Metagross would be the one thing I have to weaken down for the dual wing beat to go off because, like I said, this is Bandit Sneasler, and that is obviously going to die to dual wing beat. Even if it tears, I believe it dies to dual wing beat at that point at 84. But here I'm going to bring in the Mega Diancie. I could bring in Nidoking to, like, after all the spike goes off, I get into my Endure range. But there's still a very big possibility in their head that I'm Scarfed because I revealed that I'm not Life Orb on this set yet. So I don't think they'd ever risk Landorus there, and I'm not going to pop my Nidoking quite yet. So I'm going to bring out Mega Diancie. And here it's pretty obvious I could go Metagross, so maybe I should have made some more plays here, trying to weaken that down with Earth Power. But in my head, like I said, I was assuming the Sneasler was Scarfed, not Banded, so I'm not really trying my best to, like, well, that sounds like an excuse. I'm definitely trying my best to weaken Metagross down, but I'm not thinking in my head, I gotta get rid of Metagross for Scyther, because Scyther's already dead at this point. I missed the Diamond Storm there, which is annoying in turn, because you're going to see this thing stays healthy, and they go right back into Landorus, as I ended up going for the Earth Power that turn. I don't really know if I can explain that turn the best. I think I was thinking in my head that I was trying to get Mandibuzz back in. If they stayed in to kill me, I was trying to get Mandibuzz back in to get the Roost off. And if they don't go for Bullet Punch, then, I can weaken this Metagross even more, which is going to make it... honestly, I don't really know. That might not have been the best play either. Because I probably should have just switched my Diancie out there. But they bring Landorus back in on the Earth Power, which is, like, again, a really aggressive play. Because if I had Diamond Storm there, then Landorus is gone. And that's one of the bigger problems for Mandibuzz out of the way. So kind of wild. They bring in Metagross here. I'm going to go for the Diamond Storm again as I get 21% off. And I'm going to bring out Nidoking here this time because I'm assuming they're going to Bullet Punch this time, knock out the Diancie. And I'm like, well, let's keep Diancie around so we can take on the Landorus a bit more. And, also something that could do a lot of damage to the Tropicos. And, I'm kind of going all in at this point on my Mandibuzz taking on most of the team here. So Metagross can come in, go for the Bullet Punch this time, take out Nidoking, so I don't get to reveal the cool tech, unfortunately. Bring out the Mandibuzz. I'm going to go for the Roost here. They bring out Terapagos hard. So this is obviously, like, I could go Diancie here if I don't want to take a hit from this thing, and I want to keep this thing healthy. But here in my head, it's not in range of Diancie yet, so I want to get the Toxic off first. So I'm going to stay in. Dawn goes for a Thunder, and yes, that would have been a 2-hit KO on me, so I did not even realize that he'd be running Thunder, which is wild. Misses the Thunder, which I guess is a little bit of justice, given that, he crit my Gouging earlier, crit Blasters earlier in a little bit, so it's a little bit of justice there, which is nice. And we're going to pivot out Diancie here. I kind of, even if they land Thunder, just kind of hope I don't get parried here, because I got to keep Mandibuzz healthy. Don't get parried. They land the Thunder this time, and they're going to switch out into Metagross here as I go for another Diamond Storm. And I guess at this point, it's like, damn, just click Earth Power, predicting it. But I guess in my head, I'm like, Mandibuzz can still just take on Metagross very fine. So it's like not a big deal in the world, and I need to just kill the Tropicos for Mandibuzz to have the chance to win. So I'm going to set up Stealth Rocks here, which seems like a weird play in turn where I could have just Earth Powered this thing, because if it's not Shoka, it just dies. And then they have to go Sneasler to kill me. But I'm still thinking here and there in my head that they're definitely Shoka, and it's actually just out of range of an Earth Power if it is Shoka Berry. And also Stealth Rocks put Terapagos in range of Mandibuzz Foul Play. So if there's ever a situation where Mandibuzz is in against Metagross and they want to keep Metagross around for Diancie with Bullet Punch, then they might have to pivot Terapagos. And pivoting Landorus is risky because with Rocks plus Foul Play, there's a potential that I can get a high roll kill on that. Or if not a high roll, I believe it's like I could also crit it, which is also something you don't want to risk with Landorus. And then Sneasler's not ever coming in on Mandibuzz hard. So getting Rocks up there I feel like was really nice for the Terapagos. And then here they're going to go for knockoff, trying to predict my Mandibuzz to get rid of my helmet, which is really big for Sneasler late game. So I guess the Rocks play kind of worked out for me there. And here I'm going to stay in, or here I go Mandibuzz, kind of hoping they would have went for the Bullet Punch right there, because I'm really trying to keep my Mega Diancie around for the Landorus, because the Landorus is the one mon that's scaring me from like being able to win this game with Mandibuzz. But they make another really aggressive, pretty solid play here and knock off my helmet, which is going to make Mandibuzz's job taking on the Sneasler much, much harder. And they go, this is why I set up the Rocks, because they go Terapagos here and I get the Foul Play off, which would have killed the Metagross. And as you can see, their Foul Play into Toxic plus Rocks kills the Terapagos. And now here we're in a pretty rough spot at this point though, because it just got tough at this end game here, because I know that they have taunt at this point, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and make the play right here and just go ahead and foul play this Landorus, I believe. As I take a Sludge Wave, you can see that is almost a 2-hit KO on me. It's ridiculously strong. And here they go for the taunt, which is fine. I guess I make a prediction here and go for the next foul play. I mean, it's pretty obvious they can just do that. But in my head here, I'm still thinking, Actually, no, I kind of figured I lost at this point because Sneasler comes out, and even if it is Scarfed, I still get 2 KO'd by this, and I can't kill it with foul play. So they just go for the CC here, and they kill me, and I'm like, oh shit, this is banded. So that was completely my fault, not realizing this thing was banded, not Scarfed, and I'm going to have to bring out Mega Diancie and pretty much lose to Sneasler here. They Terra Flying, kill me, doesn't really matter. But Sneasler picks up the last few kills, and that's going to secure Dawn the win here. So this is my first analysis in a while. So sorry if things were kind of all over the place and everything. And like I said, this is gonna be really the only post con the entire season, hopefully. Um, yeah, it should be. But really going back into the game, the one kind of big error I'm mistaked was not calcing the Sneasler U-turn onto the Mandibuzz earlier. That would have told me it was banded instead of Scarfed. Maybe I would have played my Scyther differently. And as you can see, I got Metagross, ended up getting Metagross pretty low. I can't say the turns would have played out the same, but I'm saying if Metagross was this low to begin with, I think that's in range of dueling beat. And then obviously Landorus and Terapagos with rocks being up on the field, maybe I could have done something with the Scyther. But I can't take anything away from Dawn. They played really well. Some really aggressive plays with the Tangrowth, which was nice. Some aggressive plays with the Terapagos Thunder and all that. So really cool. Brings from him, and we're gonna start season off 0-1 plus or -2, which isn't the greatest start, but we'll be back week 2 as we think we're facing up against Lamaza, another really solid coach this season. I mean, everybody in Arceus is really good this season, so it'd be fun to see. But hopefully we can bounce back, and like I said, guys, we'll be back with a live comm for week 2, hopefully. And with that being said, out.